Hey guys, thank you for coming to Lunch and Learn SEO 201. I'm Becky, for those of you who don't know me or aren't as familiar with me. I'm your Shift Community Manager, but I see a lot of familiar faces, so that's always great. This is Hugh Benjamin. He's from Cloud Connected Technology. Is it full technology?
It's Cloud Connected
Tech, all right. He's actually a tenant here in the building. He's on the 5th floor. He saw the first one and reached out to us with Shift and was like, hey, how can I get on board and present and be here and a part of Shift with you guys? So I'm going to let him take over. So enjoy the food. It's from Urbane Cafe, if you've ever been. Big fan of them here in Pasadena. So enjoy that, and I'll let you get it started.
How's everybody doing today? Good. Well, thank you everybody for coming out. Like she said, we're on the 5th floor at Cloud Connected. So if anything, if you have any questions after today, we're going to cover some basic information around SEO. I'll tell you a little bit about myself, and then maybe ask some of you guys to tell me about what kind of businesses you have, or maybe something that you want to learn today, because I know there's this whole world of internet marketing that a lot of people can get confused and lost in. And so it's good to identify what it is that you guys want to get out of today, so that way there I can cover some of those things, and maybe you can leave with something as like a takeaway that would help your business. I mean, I don't know if anybody here wants to get more revenues or more customers, probably everybody, but that's the goal of today, is to give you guys some insights. And if you guys want some assistance or help, we're happy to actually meet with you guys individually and actually look at your website and do like a free 1-hour analysis where we actually go through your website and give you some advice, and there's no obligation whatsoever. It's a way for us to show you maybe some possibilities that are available for your business. And I definitely appreciate you guys for coming out. A little about myself. My name's Hugh Benjamin. You guys could you could Google me, right? I've done a lot of different webinars on search engine optimization and also internet marketing. My background, just so you guys know, I'll give you the abridged version. When I got out of high school, I was in the Marines, and I worked on helicopters. And then I went into the food and restaurant business, and I did hotel and restaurant management. And then I started up an event planning company where we did promotions for different corporations like Guess Jeans and Blockbuster and all these big corporations. And we would do a lot of grand openings and promotions. And then I had traveled around the world, Australia and New Zealand. I was building businesses and helping people with business development. And I remember somebody saying, hey, instead of you traveling all the time, what if people found you on Google and they called you? Instead of you going to them, they actually came to you. And it spun my head in a different direction, because I was like, well, that's a great question. You know what I mean? Like, how do I do that? And they actually gave me a book called The 4-Hour Workweek, which was by Tim Ferriss. And the book, just the idea of the book, opened up my mind to some new possibilities. And when I was in an event planning company, I had a website, and people found me online. I don't know if anybody here has ever gotten a call from Google where somebody found you, besides a sales call, but an actual customer that wanted to do business with you. So it became this really cool thing for me, because I was able to gather clients an extra $50,000 or $100,000 a year because people could find me on Google. And that was back in 1990s, when we had really archaeology type websites that were very simple and not as nice as the ones today. But people found me. So I really got hooked on the whole internet, because I thought, wow, isn't that amazing that you could create some great growth for your business if you understand Google? So I worked with a bunch of different services when it comes for clients. So a lot of people want to know about social media. Some people want to know about SEO, reputation management, how do you track results. So I'll cover some of those things today. These are some of the clients that I've worked with in the past, and we have even more. But this is just to give you an idea of different types of businesses. When you look at Google, I'm sure you guys have probably heard of AI or artificial intelligence. Well, Google's an algorithm. It's all metrical, so it's measured by this algorithm. And so Google doesn't necessarily know what a dentist does or what a doctor does or what somebody in law does, but it does understand the metrics of how to rank somebody on Google. And that's really what we study at Cloud Connected, and what we help people with is how do you get on the first page of Google, not for the name of your company, because if people know the name of your company, they already know you. So the question is, how do you get on the first page of Google if someone types in corporate attorney Pasadena, or they type in accounting services, Pasadena, or maybe even accounting services across the whole United States, because now people can do business over the phone and you don't necessarily need to be there. So these are some of the questions that people ask. So first, maybe, if you guys don't mind, maybe tell me what kind of businesses you have in the room. Maybe you can just shout it out, like.
Pasadena Water and Power.
What is that?
Pasadena Water and Power.
Pasadena Water and Power,
Water.
that's important. Yeah, absolutely. Somebody else?
Law office.
A law office? Okay. Anybody else? Anybody else? What else?
I'm a life coach.
You're a life coach? Oh, okay, cool. Awesome. Anybody else? What kind of business?
Online sales, clothes, and stuff like that.
Online sales, like clothes and e-commerce sites and
Yes.
stuff like that? Anybody else?
Open text. Yeah, open text.
What is that?
Open text.
Okay. And so what you guys do data services or?
We do have the software,
Okay.
and we do training.
Okay, cool. So software training,
Yes.
probably platforms that, like systems for companies and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Anybody else want to mention what kind of company they have? Or I've been in the back row. Any of you guys back there?
We're open text.
Oh, same one? Okay, cool. Awesome. Great. So what are some of the questions? Maybe throw out a couple of topics that you may want me to cover today when it comes to search engine optimization or the internet. So what are some things that maybe you guys want to learn about? Anything?
Is there any data mining?
Data mining?
Yeah.
Okay. And what are you trying to get? Like
Well,
leads?
and I know it's going way off here, but with the new blockchain technology, there's new devices you can carry, and once you go by certain areas, you can mine data.
Oh,
And I
okay.
know you're online, so I don't know if that's there.
Right.
But it could be the same thing as, and I'm sure that they do it now, like Google. When you go to a site, when I look for a certain toy, all of a sudden it's on my Facebook page. It's on, you know what I mean?
Oh, okay.
So that they're doing
Almost
doing
like retargeting in a local
yeah,
region.
so they're doing some type of mining themselves, right?
Yeah. Okay. Anything else?
I mean, I think just I didn't come to the last one, just like the question of like how to make people find you better if they take
Okay.
your profession.
That's a good one. Awesome. Cool. So let's see. So Google. I always relate Google to like Alice in Wonderland because there's so many different things that you could do when it comes to Google that a lot of times people get overwhelmed and they don't know where to start. Like there's content, there's websites, now there's podcasts, there's YouTube videos, there's social media. It can become really overwhelming, especially if you're a business owner and you're busy, working in your company and you're like, how do I find all the extra time to do all these extra things? So it's really important to kind of understand what you're doing, and sometimes when you try to do everything yourself, you can get really overwhelmed and it can feel like too much. So the internet's obviously, a huge leverage point. There's a lot of people right now that make amazing incomes online, whatever kind of business they have. But there's some simple steps that we'll go over. So the first thing, let's just talk about your website. Having a website is great. You want to make sure it's mobile friendly so that it actually comes up on smartphones. Right now, I would say that probably 60 to 70% of the searches are through smartphones. So you want to make sure that your website is actually coming up on a smartphone and that it's loading properly. That's one of the things. The other thing too is the engagement of your website. Is it engaging? Is it something where people get a good first impression? They say that most people will basically judge your business based on your website within the first couple of seconds. So the website's the overall thing that people see as a first impression, but it's just one thing in SEO. And what we do with the website is we optimize it with specific content, and that content could be videos, It could be a podcast, like for a life coach. Maybe it's a podcast or an interview that you've done with somebody, and you've done maybe like a free coaching session, so that they can see how authentic and what kind of value you would give the client. For somebody that's a lawyer, perhaps it's a testimonial. Maybe it's somebody that's saying, you know, I've worked with this law office, the customer service was amazing, I didn't feel like a number, they took care of me. So it's like building that, you know, that first impression is really important. And when we do SEO, what we do is we go into a website and we'll optimize the back end with what we call metadata or meta tags or keywords. And what that is, because some people go, well, I have my website, where is that? It kind of sits in the back end of the website, and what we do is we optimize it so that way there, if we're trying to get you ranked on Google, that your website is aligned with the keywords that you want to go after. And that could be pictures and images. It could even be the content that's on the pages. So if some of you have a website that doesn't have much content and mostly images, you want to add some content, because what Google does is they crawl through your website and they crawl through all the platforms that you have in order to actually rank you for those keywords. So the website's the first thing, and we optimize the website. But these are some of the, you know, it's pretty confusing for somebody that doesn't have an understanding of how to optimize a website. You know, what we do is we do research on specific keywords, we look at the user experience, we ask ourselves, we'll look at your Google Analytics and we'll check the behavior to see if when people come to your website, how's the bounce rate? Do people come to your website and do they leave your website right away? Or is your content engaging where people look around and they look at videos and they look at testimonials and they go to some of the links that are on your website that go to either your Google My Business or your social media or maybe your LinkedIn or some of the, you know, some of the case studies that you have for your company. So there's all these different factors. This is actually from Moz, so if you guys go to Moz.com, Moz.com has some really good articles and resources on some of these topics like content marketing, or what's a ranking factor for your website, or what do they recommend when it comes to like a landing page, or, you know, any question you might have, it's actually a really good resource. But what happens is this Google crawler or this bot kind of crawls through your website, and then it decides whether or not you should outrank somebody else based on your content and also some other factors. So that's one thing. One of the things I always tell business owners, who here has worked with like an SEO company before, or anyone that's done marketing? Anybody? Who's done their own marketing? Like pay-per-click? Anyone do pay-per-click? Anybody do SEO or whatever that might mean, right? So one of the biggest things I tell business owners when you go to spend money is to track the conversions. And you could do this in Google Analytics, or you could do this through phone tracking. So if you spend money on pay-per-click or on SEO, it's important to track those results and see where these calls are actually coming from. There's a lot of businesses, I would say probably 70 to 80% of businesses do not track their marketing. This is actually something that I pulled off of Disruptive Advertising website, but it says 97% of people out there do not track their campaigns, and so they don't know what's working. It's kind of like if you hire a bunch of people in your company and you have 5 salespeople, and you know one salesperson is bringing on accounts and the other 4 are, I don't know, maybe they're just eating smoothies during work and on personal calls and they're not generating like any results. The same way you would want to track stuff online as well. Some people have some tracking. Probably about 3% of the people have good tracking. And there's some services out there if you guys want to write down some of these things. Like there's a service called CallRail, which is maybe $20 or $30 a month. But you can actually install a code through a plugin if you have WordPress. And you can track phone calls that come in to your business. Not only will it tell you the keywords that they searched or what platforms they came from, you'll also get a recording of the call. So if you have people in your company that are answering the phone, it's also a good Q&A, like a good quality assurance thing to make sure that people are actually saying hello and being polite and, you know, answering people's questions. So CallRail is one of them. If you guys have used Google Analytics, it's a free service on Google. If you need help setting some of that stuff up, we do it for people all the time. But it's pretty easy to set up. So there's CallRail. This is a dashboard in CallRail. It'll actually show like if it came from organic or paid, or like where the calls came from, how many calls you got off of each one of those platforms. Because if you want to scale up in a business and you want to create more income, it's always important to track. So these are some of the factors with SEO. You know, the on-site optimization, local optimization. Who here has a Google Maps or like a Google Places? So there's some ways to actually optimize your Google Maps. One, it's good to actually have it on your site and actually embed the Google Maps onto your website, and that helps your local SEO. The other thing that you want to do is put pictures on there, videos, testimonials, make sure you fill out all the hours, and this helps you get more exposure with Google Maps. The other thing, if you look at Google Maps almost like a website, ask yourself, what kind of content do you have on your Google Maps? Does it talk about the services or some of the keywords that you want to rank for on Google Maps? Because you can also rank on what we call the local for or the local Google Maps on a mobile phone besides your website. Make sure your website is linked on the Google Maps too. And also you can actually add different social media profiles on your Google Maps too, and other links as well. So make sure that people have access to the information for your business. I mean, think about this. If I had a law office and you have a law office, and people go to your Google Maps and your website's not there and there's no pictures, no testimonials, no videos, and then they come to mine and I have all the videos and I have all these testimonials and it looks like I'm really passionate about my law office and I'm putting all these like certifications on there and different things like that, more than likely you're probably going to call me versus call her, right? So everything that you do online, you want to really fill it out because, they say the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. So if someone calls your business and you don't answer the phone nicely, they might not want to do business with you. If they go to your website and your website looks like a haunted house and they run in the opposite direction, they might not want to do business with you. So you want to think about like what kind of impression are you putting out there. The other thing is social media. Social media actually impacts your SEO. I don't know if you guys know that, but there's different ways to actually optimize your social media. Like in the description, you can put keywords in the descriptions and you can put links. And then again, same thing is if you have a social media and yours is nicer than mine and you're putting up posts and I'm putting up nothing, a lot of times people make a judgment based on the activity that's on your social media. Now some people say, well, like social media, there's a lot of noise on social media and I just don't have time for it. But again, it kind of it increases your conversions and like your brand awareness, and it makes you look like you're excited about your company because you're talking about maybe not just your own company, but maybe some really interesting things within the industry of law. We had one client, they did law, and some of the things that were in the news, they would actually repost on their Facebook, and then they would get a lot of engagement and a lot of shares, and it wasn't even their stuff, but they got more traffic and more people went to their website because they actually shared other information on their Facebook. So it can be a way for you to actually generate more information. Now content is important when it comes to SEO. So there's what we call on-site content. That could be a blog. Does anybody here have a blog? And how often do you post on your blog?
Once a week.
Once a week? Yeah, that's a good amount. So there's the on-site content, which is like the blog. If you guys have different pages that specialize in specific services, what kind of coaching, like you're a life coach, but is there any specific like services where people would find you? Like, is it relationships? Is it?
Yeah, so I have a general life coaching practice and a website against that, and get people I have decent SEO on one very specific keyword and stuff like that.
Right. So more than likely, that one keyword you probably wrote some blogs on.
Yeah, exactly.
You're probably really kind of filling it out. So depending on the services that you offer, you want to write content on your website, and we always recommend that people do like 600 to 1,000 words on that specific topic. So like, let's say you do law, and what kind of law do you do?
Police defense,
Police defense? Any other law?
family law,
Family law? Anything else?
civil, criminal.
Civil law? Criminal law? Okay. So if you have all these different pages, it would be good to write, a whole page on criminal law and how you help, criminals that have gotten in this situation, and put a bunch of content on there so that you can rank more for that criminal law. If you do the police defense, then maybe it's some sample cases that you've had, or some of the things that you find within the process of those law, the cases that come in, so that you rank more for the police defense, or the civil law. Same thing. So you want to make sure you have about 600 to 1,000 words of content. The other thing too is like redirecting people to helpful links. So if you have something on there where it's like police defense, and there's maybe there's a guide online that actually helps people look at their case to see, do they have a case, do they not have a case? Like linking to other places within your website, or actually other helpful tools for the people where they can actually get some more information. And those backlinks and cross-linking will actually help your SEO as well, because it shows that you're not just existing and having a website, but you're actually being helpful in directing people to maybe some good sites. The other thing besides the on-site content would be the off-site content. So off-site content is other people that are talking about you, and sometimes this can be really easy to do. For example, like let's say you do coaching on like body image and nutrition. So maybe you end up doing a podcast with somebody that's a trainer, like a personal trainer, and you guys get on a Facebook Live, and they talk about training, and you talk about coaching around the mindset of nutrition and your body image, and how it helps you be more confident, and like all these great benefits. But maybe you're just interviewing them, but now when they have the podcast on that trainer's website, they put a link going back to you, and you put a link going back to them. It's something you're going to do anyway, but a lot of people miss a lot of these SEO factors. Like I was working with a naturopathic doctor, and she had just moved to Colorado, and she had written an article that was on the Aspen Times. And I said, well, do you have any links from the Aspen Times? Because some site like the Aspen Times is really rich in content. It's an editorial, and it probably has what we call a high domain authority, which just means it's like it's superpowers, like you get the link up with Superman, you get kind of superpowers, right? So I said, well, why don't we just reach out to the editor of Aspen Times that wrote the article, and they could put a link going back to you. And I sent an email to the editor, and they put a link, and then next thing you know, she was on the first page of Google for a naturopathic doctor in Carbondale, Colorado. And that was because what we did was all of her existing articles and editorials, what we did was we just reached out to those editors and said, hey, will you put a backlink back to us? And then the benefit for them was we shared it on social media and talked about Aspen Times. So they got a benefit too, because now they got a link back to them. So you can do that. A lot of times if you don't know to do that, then you kind of miss out on those opportunities. So that's what we call like the link building offsite. A link building could also be creating a WordPress blog, or there's other platforms out there like WordPress. There's also, anyone ever hear, I think it's Quora? It's like a forum.
Quora.
Yeah, where you answer questions. You can build backlinks off of that too. So if you're answering questions in like a forum, if you have stuff in other directories, like for example, I don't know who here is like on Yellow Pages or some of these other directories, these are all links that are coming back to you. So it's the on-site content and also the off-site content. And if you can get featured on, a really popular website, it's really beneficial. So a lot of people will do what we call, that's okay, it's okay. Yeah. So a lot of people will do what we call outreach, where you just reach out to other websites and offer to even donate some content. So you might find a really cool website that you're like, wow, this website's really cool, and you write a letter out to the webmaster or whoever owns the website and say, hey, I'd like to contribute a 1,000-word article on body image as long as you link it back to me. Now they have free content, but that link now is driving traffic back to your website. So that's another way that you could build links too. Link profile is kind of what I'm talking about. Keyword research. There's a tool in Adwords. It's called the Adwords Keyword Planner tool. And you can put all of the search terms in there. It'll actually tell you how many monthly searches actually come up on Google for specific keywords. Because you might be a civil lawyer, but you might find that civil law comes up more than civil lawyer. And then you want to understand, well, where do I invest my time when it comes to writing content? And part of the content, and you can look it up on Google too, and I'm always happy to send you guys some educational links too after this. But when you write content that's 600 to 1,000 words, it's important to mention some of these keywords in the content. And I think the keyword density is about 3 to 5%. But you want to sprinkle some of these keywords into your content. Not stuff the content with like keyword, 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 but just make it natural and mention that in there as well. Any questions so far based on what I've talked about?
Give me
Yeah.
the explanation, SEO.
What's
What's
that?
that stand for? Is that an acronym?
SEO stands for Search Engine Optimization. And that site, Moz, is like an authoritative site. But they say there's about 200 different factors for SEO. And so for us, it's kind of like a science. We look at all the factors and we look at your competitors. And a lot of times if you can look at your competitor's site, it'll give you clues on how to build your business with content and also linking. One of the good tools out there is called Sem Rush. So it's Sem Rush. I'll write it right here. If you guys, and I think they have a free trial. But Sem Rush actually has a tool where you can actually scan your website and you can look and see which keywords you're ranking for right now and what the volume is on the monthly amount of searches. They also have a keyword tool in there. And you can even put your competitors' websites in there and see all the places where your competitors have backlinks and are being mentioned. Because they say if you want to become successful, you just become a copy machine and you copy what other people are doing and then just try to do it better. But if you don't have any intelligence as to what somebody else is doing, you're like, well, how do I have people find me, or how did they call me? So SEO, hold on. Where'd it go? Sorry. It's back. Look at, oh, it's right here. It almost looked like a marker. So this is, just so you guys know, this right here is the pay-per-click, and this is the organic. And they say that 80% of people will go to the organic results versus the pay-per-click. The pay-per-click click-through ratio, for those of you who don't understand the click-through ratio means they see it and the amount of people they click through on that ad. They say for pay-per-click that the click-through ratio is about 1 to 3%. So if 100 people see it, maybe 3% will click it and go through to the ad. The organic, the click-through rate is about 10 to 13%. And especially if you're offering like a service that maybe people want to know that you have more credibility, a lot of times they'll go to the organic stuff. Like a lot of educated people understand the other ones are ads. They want to find people that have been around for a while and that actually come up organically. So they say about 80% of people will actually go to the organic versus the pay-per-click. Did I answer your question about what SEO stands for?
Yeah.
So it's kind of it's like this whole pie chart of things.
It's good for, but you could also look at a nonprofit too, right?
Yeah.
Just thinking of my wife, she has a nonprofit,
Yes.
and a website and all that other stuff.
And for some nonprofits, if you guys are involved with a nonprofit, Google actually gives grants for ads. But then it's important to understand how to put the word out there and get the content out there. This is the Moz authoritative website. If you guys want to write that down, Moz is a really good resource. This is, again, kind of what SEO is. It's a combination of all these different things. It's like a, if you're doing nutrition, it's like a well-rounded diet. You can't just exercise, but you have to look at what you eat, what's your stress level. SEO works the same way. It's this holistic approach. You guys all know what a keyword is, right? If somebody puts in a certain term on Google.
AutoCAD,
What's that?
like AutoCAD,
Yeah, like AutoCAD, or AutoCAD services, or
GIS.
hire an AutoCAD specialist.
Yeah.
Exactly.
For a
So you want to go after keywords that are like buying keywords. Because like AutoCAD might be really broad,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Or if you put in, like, let's say you repair iPhones, if you put in iPhone, it would be so hard to get ranked for iPhone because I'm sure Apple and a whole bunch of other people have that ranking. So you want to go after things that are specific to people using your services. This is a client that we had that was doing like anti-aging nutrition. And when they started, this is where they were on Google. And if you guys don't know what that means like they were number 26, which means they were on like the third page of Google. I don't know who here goes on the third page of Google, but most people don't. They go on the first page. But what we did was we wrote content, we optimized their website, we built backlinks, we did social media, and the key here is to do it consistently. You can't just do it like for a week or two or a month and then just expect for it to work. Because keep in mind that like Google's going to knock off other people to give you the ranking. Why would they want to keep you there if you're not like putting up consistent content and continually doing that? So after a couple months, I would say this client worked with us for about 4 to 6 months. This is where they were ranked in the United States. So number 1 is definitely a place to be. Number 2, and this guy had worked with 2 or 3 other SEO companies, and he said, oh my gosh, like I have more sales now than I did before, but some of the other SEO companies weren't doing all the stuff that we're talking to you about. Some companies out there try to take shortcuts, and you have to do this stuff consistently. I mean, who'd like to be number 1 on Google, not for your name, but for a keyword, right? So that's an example. We'll keep a report. And you can track this too. There's different tools out there to track this. You can look at your Google Webmaster tools that everybody has if you have it hooked up. It'll show where you're getting clicks and for what keywords. It's really good to reference that on a monthly basis to figure out what's working and what's not. Pay-per-click is another option if you want to get immediate traffic. You can run pay-per-click. But again, I would recommend conversion tracking. And pay-per-click, if let's say your budget is $10 a day and it's $3 a click, after you get 3 clicks, your budget's out, your ad's not going to show anymore. It's like renting an apartment. If you don't pay the rent, then they evict you. And organic is like owning a house and building a foundation, and then you're there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So I always believe organic is best, but I think that most businesses should do a little bit of each. Like they should do, some organic, they should do some pay-per-click. If it's not in your budget, I think people should probably focus more on the organic, because you can go through a lot of money with Google AdWords and not get a whole lot of results, especially if you're not tracking it. This is the local map. So if you want to rank on a local level, because a lot of you guys are local, that's really where you start. Like within baby steps, is start on a local level. Like for Cloud Connected, if you were to put in SEO Services Pasadena, like we come up on the first page, because we write our own content and we build out links and we do all the stuff that we're telling you what to do. And we believe that it works really good, and we've gotten a lot of clients from that because people find us. But these are the different things on the local level that you could do, like social media, making sure that on your website all your social media links are there, so people don't bounce off your website and go find like some review that somebody else wrote. So having your social media on there and making sure your website is linked to the local. make sure that your Google Maps, like the location is proper, and you have pictures of maybe your office or maybe some of the certifications, photos and videos. Now you can actually put daily deals on your Google Maps, which is like it's almost like a blog on your Google My Business, and you can put specials and different offers that you're doing for the month and write content there. Make sure it's mobile friendly. Some blogging, so you, on your blogs and content, mention your location and your maps. And then reviews are really important too. So, you know, get reviews from people that you've worked with before, because I know some businesses that solely rely on their Yelp, where they have 100, 200 reviews on Yelp, and people see their Yelp and they just go with them because other people don't have the reviews. So reviews are really good. Depending on your business, sometimes you can automate these things within email marketing, where after someone does business with you, you send them a link and they write a review, and maybe you give them, you know, some benefit for writing a review for you. But reviews actually are one of the factors with the Google My Business. Like if it's between another business and your business and they have more reviews, sometimes the people with more reviews will actually rank higher, you know, on the placement. Facebook. Anyone here ever run Facebook ads? You guys want to hear anything about Facebook ads? Or? No. There's different Facebook ads. Most of the Facebook ads that people run have images, and they'll run ads and they won't track it, but there's pixels and things that you can put on your website. One of the ads that I always recommend is something called lead generation. And we actually did this for a client one time that had a nonprofit, and they were trying to raise money, and they were pushing people to like a webinar. And so what we did was we gave them a free ebook if they just hit submit, and it extracts all their information from Facebook. We got that client like 500 leads just in 1 week, and they had all these people, you know, register for the webinar.
Right.
And then we sent them like the recorded webinar. The cool thing with the lead generation ads is that you can integrate it into your email marketing. So if anybody here has like a Constant Contact or a MailChimp, then once they hit the submit button right here, they don't even have to type. They could be lazy and just hit submit, and it extracts all their information from Facebook, their name, their phone number, their email, and it goes directly into your MailChimp. And it's like an opt-in. And it's so much better than the other image-driven ads. But what this client did was they gave them just like a 2-page ebook. You know, for maybe like for you do coaching, it could be like 10 ways to hit your goals in 2019 when it comes to your body image and your fitness. And it could just be very informative, but people want stuff, so they hit submit, and then now you have a lead. And then that's a way to kind of generate leads. For law, it could be maybe a free consultation, or depending on, you know, what is your offer to people to actually build that rapport with them and get them as a client. So Facebook ads can be good. Again, as long as you're